Some people, you give them a little power and they just lose their minds. Start thinking the whole world ought to bow at their feet or else. That was Veronica Hayes to a T. She ran the Silver Pine Estates HOA like it was her personal fiefdom. And the second my wife Diana politely declined her invitation to join the club, it was like we'd kicked a hornet's nest with a chainsaw. For 3 straight weeks, this woman harassed us like it was her full-time job, cost us thousands, nearly shredded our reputation, and I swear by the end of it she'd called the cops on my wife like we were the real-life Bonnie and Clyde. But you know what's funny? Veronica had no idea who she was really messing with. Yeah, that happened. It all kicked off with Veronica stomping up to our front door 3rd time that week, folder in hand, face red like she'd just run a marathon in a wool suit. She looked ready to hand down judgment from Mount HOA. "This is unacceptable," she screeched. No joke, screeched like an angry cockatoo. "We've had 100% participation in this community for 3 years, and nobody's ever refused to join." She waved that folder like it was Excalibur, and for a second I thought she might actually throw the thing at us. Diana, though she stood there calm as Sunday morning, just gave Veronica this little smile and said, "We're not interested. Thank you." No explanation, no debate, nothing to latch on to. I could almost hear Veronica's blood pressure spike. She started rattling off threats about property values, about cooperation, making it sound like if we didn't play ball, we'd be exiled to some suburban gulag. But Diana just smiled, nodded, and wished her a nice day. Veronica stormed off, muttering like a villain in a Disney movie. I remember thinking, well, guess we just painted a bullseye on our backs. Only later did I realize Diana's smile meant she already had a plan, and it was bigger than HOA dues or some cranky neighbor with a clipboard. That afternoon, boom, first citation. Lawn maintenance violation, $100 fine for grass half an inch too long. I'd mowed the day before. It was perfect. Next day, parking violation for a legally parked car. Noise complaint for playing jazz at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. Garden gnome unauthorized decoration. You name it, Veronica found a way to fine us for it. By week's end, we'd racked up 7 citations, $400 down the drain, and every one of them was pure fiction. But here's the kicker. Diana was just calmly filing every citation away like she was collecting baseball cards. I kept asking her why she wasn't fighting back, and all she'd say was, "Trust me, Mike. Sometimes you gotta let folks dig their own hole." That should have been my first clue, but I was too busy fuming about being the neighborhood pariah. The neighbors started looking at us funny, whispering as we walked by. Frank from across the street came over, all apologetic, said Veronica, was telling everyone we were difficult. Kids wouldn't play near our yard. Folks stopped returning Diana's coffee invites. It was like the Scarlet Letter 21st Century edition. But through it all, Diana never lost her cool. She was making calls on the porch at night, snapping photos of every citation, tracking everything like she was building a case. Then came the twist. What I didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Diana had moved us into Silver Pine Estates on purpose. She'd heard about financial irregularities in Veronica's HOA from other neighborhoods, so she'd been watching, digging up complaints, quietly collecting evidence. Even the name on our deed, her maiden name, was a smokescreen. She wasn't just my wife, she was an undercover sheriff working a major fraud case. I had no idea. But by the second week, Veronica went full scorched earth. She sent anonymous tips called security on me for parties, which was just me listening to old Miles Davis find us for blocking the sidewalk when we left. 3 feet of clearance, threatened eviction, and told everyone we were dangerous troublemakers. Frank confided he'd never seen her so obsessed, but nobody dared cross her because she had city council connections and ran the HOA like a mob boss. Inside our house, the tension kept building. One night, I finally blew up, told Diana I was sick of being ostracized, sick of her trust me attitude, sick of feeling like a bystander in my own life. For the first time, she looked tired, vulnerable. She admitted it was getting to her too, but promised me 3 more days. Just hold on. I didn't know what that meant, but I could tell it wasn't just a stalling tactic. Meanwhile, Veronica was spiraling. She practiced her big moves like a high school drama student. Frank caught her rehearsing calls and writing scripts, hands shaking. She launched a mass email calling us dangerous new residents and cost me a major writing contract when a client got spooked by the rumors. Legal threats landed next, $5,000, administrative charges threatened lawsuits, the works. That Thursday night, Diana was up late, organizing documents, making cryptic phone calls, putting on clothes I'd never seen before, dark. Serious, nothing like her usual. She told me she was meeting colleagues, came home with a thick envelope marked evidence package ready. The next morning she was in full uniform at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, and suddenly everything clicked. "Good morning, Sheriff Anderson," I managed, voice shaking. She just smiled, said, "In 1 hour you'll see why I kept this secret." At 8:00 a.m. sharp, Veronica dialed 911. The whole call got recorded, thank God. She spun a tale about Diana being dangerous, unstable, maybe armed. Said she was afraid for her life, demanded officers respond immediately, dropped her city council title like it was a magic spell. The dispatcher handled it by the book, but I was sweating bullets. 30 minutes later, Deputy Rodriguez rolled up. Diana greeted him, badge hidden, totally calm. Veronica came barreling across the yard, shrieking for an arrest. But when Rodriguez tried to question Diana, she just pulled out her badge, slow and deliberate, sheriff's star gleaming in the sun. Rodriguez's jaw hit the floor. "Wait, you're Sheriff Diana Anderson from the swearing-in ceremony?" He looked like he'd seen a ghost. Veronica didn't get it at first. She was still yelling about her rights lawyers, her city council power. Phones were out, neighbors crowding around. Then Diana stepped forward and dropped the hammer. "Mrs. Hayes, you just filed a false police report against me, the sheriff. Deputy Rodriguez, please escort her to the station for questioning." I swear you could see the color drain from Veronica's face as she realized she'd just torched her own life. Diana called for backup. As officers arrived, she laid out all the evidence, thick folder bank records, invoices, emails, everything. Turns out Veronica had been funneling HOA money to her brother-in-law's company, billing the neighborhood $75,000 for landscaping that actually cost $8,000. Over 18 months, she'd skimmed more than $200,000. The crowd went wild. Frank looked like he was going to pass out. Others started digging through old bank statements on their phones, realizing they'd been fleeced. Veronica melted down in front of everybody. She tried blaming Diana, screamed about entrapment, but nobody was buying it. She was arrested on the spot. News crews showed up, filmed the perp walk. The neighborhood celebrated. Frank was elected new HOA president, promised total transparency, cut fees by 40%, and every major decision now gets a public vote. The legal fallout. Veronica lost everything, her house, her job, her friends. Had to pay back every dime, banned from government work for a decade, sentenced to jail. Diana became a local hero, got commendations, started giving talks about community justice, and even inspired a new state law for HOA transparency. But for me, the wildest part was realizing I'd been married to a quiet, kind, and apparently legendary undercover sheriff the whole time. Our neighborhood turned into something beautiful. After all that, kids playing freely, neighbors actually talking no more secrets or fear. Some days I still can't believe it all happened. But let me ask you this. How many other Veronicas are out there right now thinking they're untouchable? And how many Dianas are quietly building their case, just waiting for the right moment? If you enjoyed watching karma do its thing, go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment. Ever seen someone's power trip come crashing down in public? Let's hear your best stories about justice bullies and the folks who take them down a notch.